Hi everyone, my name is Karen Robinson and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia. And today I have the fifth project in this year's 12 Weeks of Halloween series to share with you, which is going to be this little box. We're not actually making the box, we're just decorating them. The boxes are part of the packaging basics that Stampin' Up! Is offering this year in their annual catalogue. And they're found on page 152, and there's a whole stack to choose from actually, but I'm using the little acetate card boxes, which are new this year and are designed to put in 3" by 3" cards and their envelopes. But I thought this would make a really good favor. It's a good size for packaging. It's big enough to be quite generous, but not too big that it's going to take an absolute fortune to fill up with something. So they come flat, as most of those things usually do, and then you just fold them along the score lines, put them together, and then they're ready to go. What I've decided to do for mine, so for my sample, I've actually got 2 packets of the little pre-packaged candy corn that I showed you, and for the one I have today, I have packaged goodies as well. Now, some of the packaging states that it's food safe, so the mini pizza boxes, this one's food safe, this one, but these boxes don't have that next to it, and neither do these ones. So I'm not really happy putting loose food in there because of that. They're probably fine, but I'm just erring on the side of caution, so I'm just going to put in wrapped things in mine. So just a heads up in case you were thinking about it, so you can make that decision yourself, obviously. So today I already have packed mine, so I put something else in there. These are just some starbursts, simply because candy corn is difficult to find in Australia, and I've only found one place that's actually had the little packets, individual packets of them as well. I don't know whether they're going to be on offer this year, and this is just another alternative. And of course, you don't have to do this for Halloween. You could do it for anything. I'm just making Halloween projects, so that's another idea as well. So I've just got mine all packaged up. Of course, you could package it afterwards. I just thought I'd put it in there so you don't have to watch me at the end, kind of struggling to get everything in there exactly right. So to start off with, we're going to make the base, the band. So there's different layers to the little bit of decoration that I'm adding. And what I did is I've cut a piece of basic black cardstock that is 1 1/4 wide by the entire width of the piece of cardstock. Now in Australia we work with A4 cardstock, so our cardstock is 8 1/4 inches wide. In the US and possibly Canada, anywhere if you're working with imperial size cardstock, yours is going to be 8.5, but that's good because that means you actually have more overlap. So, but this does work, and the good thing about this is you could actually make several of these boxes just by cutting down a sheet of cardstock, and yeah, you could actually make quite a few. So I started off, I've got my little tuck-in bit at the back because I just liked it there, and I'm just going to start off about in the middle, and I'm just going to finger fold around my box, my piece. And I just realized something. I'm going to backtrack. After I cut my 1 1/4 inch width, I used a border die to make a little decorative border. Now, I use the Be Mine stitched dies. They'll be packaged up a little bit differently. This is the old packaging nowadays, and I use this die just to add a border along the edge, which I thought looked really nice, and yeah, contrasts nicely. You don't have to add a border along the edge at all, but it looks quite pretty. It's just a little decorative element. Of course, it's not going to cut the whole way, so I put it on, ran it through once, and then I just moved it down a little bit and overlapped where it had already been cut. And if you kind of move it along, it will fit into the notches, especially as it's got this stitch detail of where it is. And then I just taped it in place and ran it through again, and you could keep doing that depending on how large your piece of cardstock is. And yeah, so you can have the border all the way along, and it works out really nicely. Some other options if you don't have a border die, or you don't do die cutting, could be something like a border punch. So this is an older retired one, same thing. Or if you have any of those edging scissors that you can get, decorative edging scissors would also work perfectly well. So lots of ways that you could add a bit of a decorative element to the edge if you wanted to, but it's not even necessary. So I've finger folded my cardstock around the card. No, I haven't, around the box. And it overlaps well enough, just well enough. So I'm going to come and I'm going to grab my bone folder, and I'm just going to reinforce those folds with my bone folder. And this makes them nice and straight because I can line up the edges now, and nice and crisp, and they will sit really well. It will sit nicely in my box. So I'm going to use a little bit of tear and tape. I'm going to add some on the inside on one side, and then on the other side, because my cardstock is 8 1/4, and I believe our tear and tape is 1/4 inch wide, it doesn't overlap quite a quarter of an inch. If you're working with 8 1/2 cardstock, you don't have to worry about this. You've got plenty of overlap. So I am going to pop some tear and tape on, but I'm actually going to have it hanging off the edge a little bit. You know, you don't have to do this. You could just have it flat, and then you'd have a bit of sticky, because we're going to cover all of this join with our decoration. But for me, I just know it's going to keep sticking to things and it will bug me. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to have it hanging over the edge. And that way it'll all be enclosed and I don't have to worry about it. So pop this wherever you want it, like how far up or down you want it. So I want it a little bit over the halfway mark, more towards the top, so I can still see plenty of my yummies inside. And stick down one end, and then take the backing off the other side, roll it back on itself. Because it's double-sided, it's still sticky, it hasn't lost any of its stick. And then I'm just going to line this up with the other edge. Hopefully everything's straight, and stick it down. And so this way it's attached nicely, and yeah, I don't have any sticky to worry about that's going to keep bugging me with everything else that I'm doing. Okay, then I'm going to add a little strip of DSP over the top of this, just for a little contrast and add a little bit of color. I'm using the Perfectly Plaid DSP, and because this is a 6 inch by 6 inch paper pack, it won't go, one piece won't go all the way around. So all the way around, sorry, I just didn't even bring that in to show you. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces, and they're both 3/8 of an inch wide by the full 6 inches. And this is a perfect way to use up some of the scraps that you might have. So this is my bag of paper that I'm using. I'm just storing them in sandwich bags, my 6x6 pack. It works beautifully, and I have all my scraps in the front, so I've just grabbed out a piece, and yep, I can just trim that down, and I've got plenty to use for other projects as well, where I only need a little piece. So to get this to fit all the way around, I can try and join it and then have it, there's going to be a join somewhere, but the way that I found it, that I liked how it worked the best, was like this. So I'm going to have this bit at the front, and I'm just going to, it doesn't really matter, I'm just going to hold it, and once again I'm just going to finger fold it, and then I'm going to reinforce those with my bone folder, just so that they're straight and it's going to sit nicely at the end. I'm going to do exactly the same with the other piece. I'm just going to do it at the back. It's not really going to make much difference if I did it at the front or the back, because this is square, and I just realized I've just put that. Good thing I did put yummies in there. I've put that on the wrong side, but anyway, it doesn't matter now. And I'll just have to take it off. And I'm going to fold that as well. Now I'm going to come in with my Tombow, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue just in the center portion of this piece. So in between these 2 score lines, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to figure out about where I want this. I kind of like it that way. So I think I want it about 1/4 of an inch from the top, so I can still see the black. And I'm just going to stick that down. I'm not going to worry about the sides yet. I'm going to come back to those. Turn my box over, do exactly the same on the back piece. So the pattern on this is not going to join up. If that bothered you, you could definitely fussy cut it, but I don't think it's really going to make too much of a difference. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to line it up, and then I'm just going to make sure that it is going to, when I bring the sides around, it's all going to line up, which it looks like it is, which is good, because that's what's going to make it nice and neat. Grab my paper snips. I'm just going to trim off the back ones a little bit. Add just a touch of glue on the side and pop those down. Then I'm going to add some more glue along the sides. It's okay that they're not down yet because I'm going to hold them down better now. And then just join these up so they look nice and neat. And at a glance, it will look like a continuous piece of paper all the way around. If you're working with 12 by 12 inch paper, then you can definitely do the same thing. You can cut it the same and then have the join in the center front, which makes it easier. But this is the paper pack I'm using for this series, so that's the one I am sticking with, and this is a perfect workaround. And then I'm just going to trim the overhang off, and it looks really nice and neat from the back. I've trimmed a little bit too close there on that one, but on this one you can't even tell really, unless you look really look closely, that I've trimmed that off at all. My scraps. Now I'm going to add my ribbon because this bit is on top of that, so the ribbon, the DSP and the cardstock are all underneath, and I'm using this lovely metallic mesh that's in the holiday catalogue again. This stuff is so beautiful and has a lovely bit of shine. Now it's quite a wide ribbon, and I did toss up whether I should just use a piece and kind of crunch it up, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But what I decided to do was I cut it down, so I cut it into thirds. So I've cut a piece that is 12 inches. I don't know if you can see any numbers, but it was 12 inches long, and then I've cut a third off it. So this is the piece I've used for my sample, and this is the original width. So all I need to do now for this one is to cut this in half. I might just use a bigger scissor, which means I will also have enough that I can make another box if I want to. So, which is a really good way. So rather than using a 12-inch strip and using 3 of them, I'm just using 1 strip to do 3 boxes. So it's a great way to make, you know, kind of an expensive little embellishment go a lot further. So I've got another piece there I can use, and then I just popped it around, tied it on at the front with a knot. You could definitely make it longer and tie a bow. I just thought that was kind of coming up to be a little bit fussy with everything. Tie a knot and trim the edges, the ends, however long you want them to be. Sorry, now I'm all fingers. It's not hard to tie a knot. Tying a knot's quite easy. There we go. Okay, my knot's a bit weird, but that's all right. And then you can move it around, fuss it around. I moved it just to the side because I did want to see the knot. And when you pop it's mesh, so that's why that little bit's catching on the corner. When you pop your image on there, that will also kind of help keep it in place, so it's not going to fall off, even if it does kind of move around a little bit. So I'll come back and fuss around with that a little bit more later on. Actually, I might just tuck that in there, and then they go the way they look. Beautiful. Okay, trim off the edges while I'm there. Okay, so that's all the base of it done, and so now I'm just going to add a pretty bit. So see, my knot is not really tight enough, is it? But that's okay. I'm going to add stuff over there. It's not going to go anywhere. So for the decoration, I'm using the Have a Hoot bundle again with these cute little owls and the coordinating Pick a Hoot dies. I've used this image here of the little vampire owl, I suppose, with his cloak. He's dressed up, sitting in the branch. And so I've stamped him onto Whisper White cardstock, and I coloured him in with Stampin' Blend markers. I used Rich Razzleberry for his cloak. I used the new Cinnamon Cider combo for the actual owl. Light grey granite and the colour lifter just to add a little bit of something to his eyes, and just a little bit of dark pumpkin pie just for his feet there. And then I die cut him out with the coordinating dies. So I'm not going to do any colouring to save time. And then he comes out like this. It's so cute, so cute. So I wanted to, I don't know, add something behind him. And I thought he was a bit too small on the box by himself. So I decided to kind of add like a big full moon behind him, which I think goes, you know, perfectly with the whole kind of Halloween theme. So I've just got a scrap of Mango Melody cardstock here. I have my stamp mounted onto a block. I'm going to use Memento ink, but I do not want the little moon, because if I stamp the moon, the moon will show when I die cut out the circle, and it will look weird because it'll just be a partial moon, and this is supposed to be the moon. So I need to mask that off. And I'm just going to use a little bit of tape. You could use sticky tape. I've just got some painter's tape here. So I'm just going to pop that on to my block. Grab my ink up my image, make sure I'm in the camera. This is the most important part. Remove your tape before you stamp. And then I'm going to stamp that onto a piece of Mango Melody cardstock. Just a scrap. Beautiful. I love it when it just stamps beautifully. It just makes me so happy. Put that out of the way. Now I wanted to add a little bit of colour to the branch because it is going to show on the thing. So I just grabbed my light basic black marker and I just coloured in the branch. I don't have to worry about colouring in the owl because he's already coloured in and die cut, and he will just layer perfectly over the top. So some of the branch will be cut off, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't even have to colour it all in. You could do shading if you wanted to. You could make this any colour you wanted to, but I just chose the black because it's just nice shadow effect. And then I die cut it out with one of the stitch shape framelits. Yeah, if you ever do want to get into die cutting and want a nice range of basic shapes, I would definitely go with this one. You have ovals, circles and squares. My favorite die set. I used the second smallest one and then just ran it through, popped it over, taped it in place, ran it through my die cut machine, and then this is what I have ready to go onto my little box. So to pop him on, I want to add a little bit of dimension because, you know, you never have too much dimension. So on the back of my owl, I added just a couple of dimensionals. Oh, yeah. Actually, I might add 3 dimensionals. Sorry. Remove the backing, pop that on top of the stamped image. So the main thing is I'm just trying to line this up as much as possible. I don't want to see that stamped image and underneath any of the lines poking out. So I can't put my head right over because otherwise you'll see it. So hopefully I've got that right. And then on the back, I decided to use black dimensionals because I've got this black and the dark and everything. And I noticed on my other one, so from the side, it's, you can't see it. I just like the look of it, but you don't have to. You could use any dimensionals you want. And what I decided to do was actually put them on my project in the center, kind of. And I'm just going to move my knot along a little bit. There we go. And then I can use part of that for keeping my ribbon where I want it to as well. Remove the backing. One thing I do love about the black dimensionals is because the backing's white, you can tell that when you've removed it. So sometimes on the white ones you haven't removed all the backing and you come to stick something on and it doesn't stick. And then I'm going to pop this in the center where I want him to be. There we go. Beautiful. And he's all done. And I can trim that. I can tuck that little bit under. Oh, I kind of like that tucked under there. Yeah. I'll tuck that under there. If that moving around bothered you, you could add a little glue dot behind that knot there to keep that little bit in place. And there is my treat done, only you probably want to put your band around this way because I've actually put it on the wrong way and I've covered up the openings, but it's okay. It still looks cute. Now, I decided not to add a sentiment to this. You could definitely add a sentiment. I just think, I don't know, it's enough. There's just enough going on there and you get to see all the lovely treats in there. Well, a nice, quick, really easy project for today. I hope you liked it. So even though I've made this Halloween, these would be great for so many different things. You could choose different images and, you know, do ones for little birthday favors. You do them for wedding favors as well, something small to fit in there. Yeah, lots and lots of ideas that are in the annual catalogue, even the holiday catalogue. You could definitely do Christmas themed ones. They make a nice gift for teachers. You can find something, some nice little special treats to put in there. And that doesn't have to be food ideas either. It could be little bits of makeup, samples. There was something, it's disappeared now. But yes, you could definitely find non-edible things to put in there. So I hope you like this, and yeah, lots of ideas to put in there. I will add the link for the candy corn. I don't know whether they will have them this year if anybody's interested, but plenty of other options that you can easily find at Coles and Woolies, you know, and you just your regular supermarkets that would look just as good as well. Okay, I will see you next week with the next project in this series. Okay, bye.